I am Thor, son of Odin, and as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say.
Great, another broken white boy for us to fix.
That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are. With great power comes great responsibility. I can do this all day.
Wakanda forever!
And welcome, Internet, to another episode of Views from the 616, the blackest MCU podcast in the multiverse, powered by 4 old nerds, where we discuss everything in the MCU from the perspective of people of color. And it's one of your hosts, Tatiana King, aka the Book of Ashanti, aka Doc Ock, aka Clan Destiny's Child, aka Tesseract Thompson, aka the coldest winter soldier ever. And as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host.
It's your boy DJ Ben Amin, aka Baby Max, aka Premium Peter Parker, Chris Ragnarok, Buzz Ouchia, Black Goliath, Wakandan Werewolf in London. I ain't done that one in a minute. The Anti-Trife Equation here on the spaceship. I didn't do all Marvel. I didn't do all just views tonight. You know, it's all kind of things. But we here. Yeah. Let's go.
It's been a busy time for us, y'all. But we are making it happen for y'all because we are back to talk the finale episode of She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, episode 9, titled Whose Show Is This? Very fitting title for this episode, which by far actually has everything we've ever wanted happen about She-Hulk coalesce into like really perfect form. This series was created for TV by Jessica Gao. Obviously, it's a whole writer's room, but Jessica is the lead in this, and overall, fantastic job. Job well done. You really had us in the first half, not gonna lie, but y'all really came through at the end.
And it was surprising because this finale is one of those finales where it makes the earlier episodes even better. Like, because it was like one of those things like we talked about, okay, who's behind the intelligentsia? Why haven't they really introduced who it is? And they already had. And that's a major rule of writing. It's all, you can't just randomly introduce the villain at the end, but they'd already introduced the villain. We just didn't realize that was the head of the intelligentsia.
Yeah. And I think this is so funny. Like, even though I made a joke about it, I think it's actually funny that this is one of the few series where the last episode was amazing. Like lots of times what happens is it's like you have this good to great series, and then the last episode is the big letdown. It's just like the finale. It's like, oh man. This time it was all reversed, where it was like kind of some ups and downs, and now you get this incredible last episode. And as I said, just really tapped into, especially from the comics, especially what I've learned about the comics over the last few weeks, it really tapped into the heart and soul of what made the She-Hulk comic so good.
Yes.
And to be able to translate that to live action, it's just beautiful work.
No, this was something that, if you've been watching and listening to us review this from the beginning, I asked for this specific thing to happen, for her to argue with the writer's room. I asked for that early on because it was just like what happened in the comic when she would be arguing with John Byrne about why she didn't like the plot, why she was fighting these whack, corny villains from every corner of the Marvel Universe, why he kept introducing random love interests for her when she already had a main love interest, and just all these different things. And so to finally see that, and for them to actually do it, and then not only do it, but do it and surpass what I was thinking about. Oh. Where it just went all the way out there with the whole Kevin thing. And I just felt like Tatiana was on fire in this episode. This was just like her best moment. She was in her best element. Delivery. Yeah, they were just killing it, man. This is easily my favorite episode of the series, without a doubt.
Yeah, this is peak TV, right? And like I said, I was having my doubts with this series. I was like, I don't know, man. But no, this was peak TV for all the reasons Ben mentioned. And with that, let's just get into the things we loved about the episode. Let's just talk about the main thing about why this episode was so goddamn good. I realize now it was the fifth wall being broken for this episode. That it was perfect. It was phenomenal. It was the even updated contemporary version of what like Ben was speaking about on episode 1, where he was like, that's her thing. She will jump out of a fucking comic book panel and go on the next page and do all that stuff. To do that on a streaming service, literally go to, I thought for a second, I thought something was wrong with
everyone
the episode. And that was the point, right? I legitimately thought the episode went back to the Disney Plus main screen. I'm like, yo, what the fuck happened? And then for her to start talking, I said, like, that's what happened. I covered my mouth and I said, oh shit, they actually doing it.
Yep, me
They
too.
actually fucking. So for her to end up on the Disney Plus menu, look around, and then to acknowledge the other fucking shows on the screen and be like, not that one, not that one. Oh yeah, Marvel Assembled. Again, it's just so many levels of why that's so good. Again, for those who don't even realize those are there, those Marvel Assembled are amazing things to watch. They always air those after these series end, so you can get a real deep dive into all the inner workings of these shows. Like you saw it with Loki, you saw it with WandaVision, you saw it with everything. And so some of these things are overlooked. So not only is it them using this as a vehicle for She-Hulk to just continue her narrative, but to also shed light on something that people may skip over and say, hey, yo, this is actually something that could be important or interesting to you. Like that shit was so fire. I'm shaky thinking about how so well done this shit was.
Yes. And then for her to crawl out of her panel and then crawl into the Marvel Assembled panel so she could go and then confront the writer's room, which is what I said that I wanted to see from the beginning, having been in the writer's room, knowing the chaos and camaraderie and just everything else that goes on in there, to see her actually, because that's just a update. Like we said, in the comics, she would confront John Byrne. So here she got to confront the writer's room. And that was ill. I loved it.
And having been in a writer's room, a few writers' rooms, like, I wanted your take on how accurate that looked and how accurate the banter or the group that you saw in there. Like, what was your take on that?
100%. I mean, obviously, this comes from people. This show is written in a writer's room, so people who are on this show obviously know what a writer's room is all about, and it was 100% accurate, from everything to the sticky notes, with Act 1, 2, and 3 being different colors, so you can differentiate which act is easily when you look up at the board, to the rest of the things, to all the photos of She-Hulk from the comics up on the wall. Like, I was I've been in the Captain Marvel writer's room when they were working on that, and it was the exact same thing. All of Captain Marvel panels. That's how I was like, oh, they're gonna have a Flurkin in there, and they wouldn't even tell us that when we were on set. But I was like, dude, you got a picture of the Flurkin up there on the wall. You're gonna have a Flurkin in this movie. Like, stop flirking around with me right now. So that was what I loved. Everything, and then their banter, like when they're telling her, yo, well, we just thought it was a good idea, and then them coming up with terrible ideas. What were they talking about when she burst in the room? It wasn't time travel. It was something else terrible for season 2. They were talking about, like, why don't we do this? And
yeah,
she burst in. It's like, what are y'all talking about?
I mean, because it's an ideation process. You're in there making ideas, and yes, sometimes, maybe lots of times, bad ideas get thrown out there. And you never really know necessarily what is a bad idea. You could say something that someone could course correct. You could say something that someone could build off of and make it good. Or it could just be terrible at the onset and it gets shot down and you kind of just move on.
Yes. And even those ones who get shot down, if you're in a room, you understand this, you've heard it and seen it happen, people will bring them up again and again and try and flip it a different way so that they can get this idea. And I've heard about what is it? The SNL writers room, where writers talk about how they had a skit idea that later became famous, that they had to pitch for months because the head writer was just like, nah, that's not it. And then finally they fine-tuned it to the point where it's like, okay, let's give it a try, and then boom.
Right. And that's, as you say, that's part of the process, because perhaps that fine-tuning is what's needed to take that raw idea and make it good. Make it into something that really could make a difference, whether it's in entertainment, right?
Like, yeah. I'm sure this started off with them just being like, okay, she busts into the writer's room. And then they were like, well, what if happens after that? And it's really interesting with this one, because it's like the synchronicity of both of these episodes. I'm not sure if you saw this week's episode of Atlanta yet.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Well, on Atlanta, both of these episodes happened this week. And while Atlanta doesn't break the fifth wall in the same way, it does confront the idea of the man behind the curtain. The Wizard of Oz type thing. Like, who is behind the curtain of a TV show?
You saw this.
Yeah, not exactly Atlanta, not the show Atlanta, but a show that is happening on Atlanta. They confront the maker. And so it's so weird to see both of these shows have such wildly different takes on it, obviously.
Yeah.
But both of them do this weird Wizard of Oz moment where let's peek behind the curtain and see what's going on, and it's not what you expect.
I mean, different approaches, but common denominator is what you say, the man or the thing behind the curtain. Because as we see here, like the references was just all perfect. Like I told you, this series was created for TV by is under the name of Jessica Gao. The person, even though that's not Jessica in the room, that's just an actor. They're all actors, but that person is named Jessica as a nod to Jessica. And then the idea of wanting to speak to Kevin, and this is why closed captioning is so important, because there's certain nuances that you're not going to tell unless you see the words on screen. Okay.
When all the writers were saying the acronym,
they were like Kevin the acronym, and I said, "Oh, they are not fucking doing this."
Yes, they are.
That was so fun. So She-Hulk's talking about Kevin, the guy who's, she's saying Kevin as a name, a person's name, and they're like Kevin as Kevin, which stands for a bunch of gobbledygook, but it stands for Knowledge Enhanced Visual Interconnectivity Nexus. It doesn't mean anything, y'all. But it's a fucking Wizard of Oz robot fashioned after Kevin Feige. And to the point where if you look at it head on, it looks like it's wearing that same type of baseball cap that Kevin Feige wears. Because the way it looks, the front, it looks like one of them old school, not even old school too, even not new school, but like the lens from a camera.
Yes. Red, blue, and green to make color.
But then it has a protrusion on top of it, so it looks like a cap. And I was just like, y'all niggas are stupid. So it was very, and that's to say about the fifth wall breaking, and I was learning about that, like, what does it mean to break the fifth wall? Like, fourth wall is like when the character is talking to you, right? Mm-hmm. They said fifth wall is when, like, you stop the narrative to talk about the show itself, the people running the show, the actresses, the actors, etc. And that's what you see She-Hulk do. She jumps out. Yeah, she talks to us, but then she goes talks to the people who are making the show about what's happening in her show. And when in her speaking to Kevin, I just thought this was a cherry on top, especially when it comes to Marvel, Disney, making her sign an NDA before she could even walk.
Oh my God.
When I screamed when that man said, you got to sign this NDA, because I said, if that ain't
Disney. When she said, why'd you have me sign it if you just push the button?
Right.
Everybody has to sign an NDA.
Everybody. That's what we be telling. Mickey from the block don't play. Marvel did, even before they was Mickey from the block, Marvel did not play that shit.
Did not play.
Ever, right?
I'm still under several NDAs as we speak.
See? The almighty NDA. But again, it was just so on point, because it's the real world and it's not. But to blur those lines and to be so self-aware, and for Marvel to be making fun of themselves and the process that they are all involved in. And yes, it's also related to Hollywood at large, but Marvel specific, right? Even going through I don't even know if that was a model of, or even a part of the Marvel office, but it just looked like it was all set up like that.
Definitely the Disney campus she was on. I've been on the Disney campus multiple times. That was the Disney campus. I was hurt when she walked by one joint, because I remember that it's like the cafeteria is right there and stuff. And I was like, wow. Man.
Oh, memories for you?
Memories, man. Like, no, the Disney campus is one of the most, for creatives, at least for me, it's one of the most inspiring places I've ever been. And it's so dope. And so, yeah, no, that was straight up the Disney out in Burbank, California. Wow. That was Disney Studios right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the level of fifth wall breaking, the self-awareness, the intelligence of how they wrote this out and how it was acted due to Tatiana's amazing, acting ability. And like it just worked. Like finally, like remember before, a few episodes before, when I was saying, the snarkiness wasn't working for me.
Oh
like
my God.
It was something missing. This fucking it fit like a glove this episode.
And sometimes I smash Matt Murdock.
I said that joke. I said that joke two episodes ago. So I was like, I'm with you, girl. I'm with you, girl.
Cried.
One thing
Matt Murdock dropping out of the sky. We're talking about Matt Murdock.
That shit was funny.
This nigga dropping out of the sky in the middle of the suburbs.
I mean, them making, like, for it to break the fifth wall and then making it like it was like a Sims build-a level. Like, they were just dropping and erasing characters at will. Like, that was fucking hilarious. That was on point for me. I like once again, the in jokes. when she walked in there and Kevin was like, yo, could you just transform back to a person? Because it's real expensive to maintain you on screen, my nigga, and do it off camera.
Off camera.
Because could you imagine if they kept, and I know that this is on the cutting room floor, that the camera stayed on her or the camera came back to her too soon. It was like paper mache version of her transforming
budget
back.
version. Yeah,
It was
I'm
like
sure
a
they
budget.
thought of that.
I know
I'm
they
sure
thought about
all
that.
these ideas were rammed through in the writer's room.
But the reason why he says, well, the visual effects team has moved on to another project. And then you hear the Wakanda drum sound.
Oh, no. I didn't peep that.
Yes. It happened so fast. Like he goes, oh, the FS team was working on another project. And it goes, doo-doo-doo-doo. You know that little cowrie shell drum sound?
The water drums.
The water drums. Thank you. It goes, doo-doo-doo-doo. And then they keep talking. And I'm like, nigga, I heard that. Wakanda forever. I heard that shit. And I don't know the timeline of when this was made, but I don't know if it had anything to do with it, but it was just funny.
Oh, no, they could have added that in any moment. Those drums could have been added like any moment. So
that particular line, I didn't know like the timing of when She-Hulk was in production, if that had any like overlap to actual Wakanda or
no,
actual
probably
Black Panther?
not. But when they realized that Wakanda's dropping next, that's the drums you add.
That makes sense.
If whatever drops next, it was what sound effect they would have added right there.
Right. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but they got so many that people know, you know. You
said the other one I love. Daredevil just fucking dropping out the fucking sky, and him being oblivious to it, because again, he's not the one breaking fourth or fifth walls. No. So he was like, "Hey, Jen, what's up?" Like, it's okay that he just dropped out of fucking nowhere and just showed up in a place. Like, you need some help? Like,
but
it was funny.
Wong breaks the fifth wall in this episode. Wong breaks the fourth wall.
What did he say?
When he comes to get Abomination out of the cell, Abomination does it too. Abomination says, "What? You got caught up on another show?"
Oh, he did say you got caught up on another show.
TV.
Yes, you're right. That was fourth wall. Yeah.
So everybody, and I think even Daredevil kind of knows while he's in She-Hulk, he knows what's going on too.
He knows he's not really supposed to be there. Like he just
because that's the thing. He's trying to like, okay, fuck it. You know, I'm here to smash and whatever. I really wonder how much of this they're going to keep going in Daredevil. I don't think any, because that was kind of the thing with the She-Hulk comic too. When people showed up in her comic, they would have wild adventures, and then when they went back to their comic, they'd just be regular.
It had nothing to do with it. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm curious. So does that mean, because the Daredevil show is going to be a mad episode. So I'm like, so does that mean Jen is not going to show up?
They got to bring Jen in for one
episode. There's like 50 episodes.
Even if they don't do it where it's dark, but where she's just She-Hulk in it, and a lawyer or whatever, then I would like, if she goes into his universe, that'd be ill too,
Yes.
Like, that'd be really ill. Because that's the thing. In the comics, She-Hulk was sometimes a member of the Fantastic Four or the Avengers. And when she was with them, she wasn't talking to the camera or any of that shit.
Doing that wild shit.
Her shit got, man. There's a story in Fantastic Four when that's when I became a fan of her, because she went through the ringer. And then she came out like, let's go, dog,
Yeah.
But she went through it. Ooh.
This is random, but I was today years old when I learned that Cree Summers actually voiced She-Hulk from old school cartoon.
Who didn't she? I didn't know that one either, but
because she posted it on her IG, and I was like, "Nigga, what? You to say you voiced everybody, but goddamn, She-Hulk,
everybody, fam.
Let's talk about but yes, Daredevil, amazing, and I just love their chemistry, so I just want to see more of them. I like them as a couple. Like I love them as a couple.
Love them.
The homage to the Hulk. Is that the Hulk or She-Hulk or the homage at the beginning of this episode?
Incredible Hulk.
To the Incredible Hulk
off with the Incredible Hulk TV series. What?
Yes.
Oh my God! Like
someone put
childhood.
Someone put on Twitter cyber, like it was like almost shot for shot. Exactly for shot.
No, as soon as it started, all those shots, because that was a show like it was before my time, but it was a show that was always in reruns when I was a kid, and it's the only superhero thing that I could watch. I was all over it, And it was actually pretty good for what it was. You know what I mean? Like, they'd have some good-ass stories on there. But that opening was iconic, and shot for shot was,
wow.
Oh, man. All that. I was crying.
It was, and then, was that in the 70s? Or
yeah,
late
70s. Late 70s.
Okay, late 70s. So, and it had all the kitschy late 70s, like, trappings to it. Like, even, like, the bad Hulk costume. Like the bad She-Hulk costume that they put her in, like,
and that's her stunt double who they had doing the She-Hulk, because just like in the original show, it was Bruce Banner, and then I can't remember Bruce Banner actor's name. I should know that, but Lou Ferrigno played the Hulk, so it was two different actors playing it, just like they show you in the intro, where it's two different people.
So they showed her basically what they call it her body reference. So there's a woman that serves as the body reference to Tatiana when she's in Hulk form.
Yep.
And she's like literally she's tall as hell and brolic in real life. So
yep.
But so they put her in that horrible suit and made her do the growling and all that stuff.
Just like Lou Ferrigno used to do. That's exactly how it was. It was one actor played Bruce Banner, and then Lou Ferrigno would come in because Lou Ferrigno's a super brolic ass bodybuilder, mad tall. So he would come in and play the Hulk. It was great.
Wow. So that was fantastic. That's like an Easter egg too, but it was just really cool because I was like, what? Like I knew it was referencing something, and then when I was like looking it up, I was like, oh my god, this is crazy.
I started screaming as soon as it started. I was like, oh shit, no, they're not. With the voiceover and the "you wouldn't like me when I'm angry" line. That is like, everyone knows that line, but that's where that line came from. Is from "you wouldn't like me when I'm mad." Like, don't make me angry.
And even her and Bruce, that one
shot
scene with her and Bruce when they were being real awkward, very awkward, and like saying their lines and all that uneasy silence. Like it was just, I'm like, oh man, that's so old school. So it was great,
so good.
I
started screaming, man. Oh man,
it was great. The other thing I really liked about this episode was like I called it just life come at you fast because the way her life fucking came crashing down. I mean, I felt like I know it happened over time, but it looked like it happened in the span of fucking 36 hours. Like, lost the fucking job because she, lost the ability to become She-Hulk and therefore lost her fucking job because they only wanted her because she was a She-Hulk lawyer. Then because she was making no fucking bread, she couldn't keep her fucking house or apartment, whatever the fuck it was. So she had to get rid of that and sell it and then move back in with her parents. And then her mom was like, because it's been years. Her mom was like, well, my exercise equipment is in your room. So, I'm going to be in that bitch in the morning while you still probably sleep. So for her life to come crashing down so goddamn fast, I just was like, damn, that's harsh, but that's life.
I loved her co-workers. So we all loved the woman or her shorty, her best friend. Yeah, but I loved Homie coming into his own on this episode because he actually looks like he should be that bro.
He does.
He looks, dresses, everything like he should be that bro, but he is down for Jen. He's been down for her since day one, since she came into office. You know what I mean? And him coming through for her, and then just his delivery of that stuff when he was like, oh, I gotta say that right. What's up with females?
Right. And thank y'all for saying that. There is, unless it makes sense grammatically, there is no point where you should be referring to women, again, unless you're talking grammatics, where you should refer to women as females. It's literally one of the most dehumanizing things you could do. And I hate that it became a trend in like the last 5 years.
Because that's why that shit. People love to dehumanize. And that's why it became a trend. Just like this other wild trend that I've seen recently, and it is one of the saddest ones, comes from the FBA, whatever, Black Americans, where they call it other people tethers who don't agree with them.
Oh my gosh. Like y'all please don't ever, like if you're talking to me and the minute you start referring to women as females or that, I'm walking the other way because I can't, I'm not hearing you no more.
It's just like when I've learned now, like someone, and I had to correct them today on Twitter because they were like, oh, Marvel's been trashed in Spider-Man. And I was like, kind of just like, I mean, one, that's wrong. But right. Two, to call all that work that went into all those disparate projects trash?
Yeah, nah.
Fam. All these episodes, all these hours, like all these movies, just, trash? Bruh, let's be real. Everything is, let's give it a little more nuance.
Yeah. Anything else you liked about this episode, Ben? I mean?
Well, one of the other lights is definitely a big Easter egg and part, but I'll mention it now, is Hulk walking, because this is another moment that I've been waiting for, that I figured pretty much they were going to do as soon as they sent him back to Sakaar. And him walking in just nonchalantly with Scar.
Like, hey, by the way, like there was no lead up. There was no like setup to it. He was just like, I just want to introduce you to my son.
This grown ass man.
Scar.
But once again, that is straight out of the comics. For those who know that when Hulk went to Sakaar, in the comics, there's the whole Planet Hulk run where he becomes the emperor of the planet, marries this woman, has a child, starts to raise him, and then the whole planet gets blown up by the same ship that brought Hulk there in the first place. So Hulk comes back to Earth on a revenge tour, which leads to World War Hulk, where he crushes out all the heroes who basically sent him there, the Illuminati, crushes them all out, and then eventually Star. I didn't read the shit with Star that much, so
I've read some of the stuff with Scar, and there's a lot going on. There's stuff involved with Galactus.
Oh, I know all that. Yeah, no, he becomes but he eventually shows up on Earth, and because of the whole time dilation thing, he's a grown ass man there too. And so now Star is still running around as a character in the Marvel universe. Like you said, he's been involved with Galactus.
Yeah, he's involved with Galactus. I mean, they had this nigga running around Sakaar like Mowgli from the Jungle Book. Yeah, and like just going all.
Yeah, he had a whole series. There was 3 Hulk series around the time of Planet Hulk. So yeah, he's had a whole history, and now it seems that. I mean, I don't know how they get back to doing a Planet Hulk or even a World War Hulk movie or series from where they're at in the Marvel universe now, but they're definitely going to incorporate some elements as we see. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. I think rounding out the things I like, I really like Jen calling out the formulaic potential ending that got scrapped. Just the blood. What did they call it? The blood finale or whatever they called it. It was because the fact that the villain gets the blood and then gets to have the super person's power or the good quote unquote person's powers, and now you got to fight them. And then especially when people started dropping out the fucking sky, I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right. Like it was just, and I'm glad like for them to make fun of the typical pitfall that ends up happening in so many properties, not just Marvel, just properties in general, projects in general, where it's like they lean on that trope. And for them to say, let's call it out and not even fucking go there, right? I
love that she called out that the show is a legal comedy.
Yeah.
And let's end it with that. That was great because we talked about that a lot. That's one of our favorite parts of the show is the fact that it's a legal comedy in the Marvel universe.
And I was so happy they fixed it at the end credit scene or the mid credit scene. But I was actually mad that Emil had to go back to fucking jail. I'm like, damn, I know you all about law and order, but Emil, my nigga, she was like, she wanted him to hold himself accountable because even though he said he wouldn't, he was changing back to the Abomination for speaking engagements. But he wasn't hurting nobody. He was just making bread. So like he wasn't really doing nothing wrong. And like it's clear he was just there as a speaker. He wasn't there because he agreed with the She-Hulk Women Hater Club.
I don't think he even knew really. I think he just showed up to get that check.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't know that this was for the She-Hulk Women Hater Club. It was just, he's there to get a check. So. Like, he didn't do nothing wrong. So then they tell him, because you violated parole, like, you got to agree to go back for 10 years. I was like, my nigga, what? No. But so I was happy Wong sprung him out. Like, I didn't like that shit.
I think that was also him. Like, he said it was his karmic thing. But also, he knew Wong was bring him out.
Yeah.
So he didn't give a shit. One thing that I didn't like is the fact that, once again, she goes back to the Wrecker and doesn't ask him, who the hell were you working for when you tried to steal my blood, fam?
I think it's irrelevant at that point, right? They know all about Hulk King, and they don't know. I think she started understanding the blood stuff too. Yeah. It was relevant when they were having like the circle, the Kumbaya circle, but I don't know if it was relevant now.
And in the end, it's irrelevant because she said that was a stupid storyline that they shouldn't have had in the first place.
And again, who came up with that storyline in the writers' room that is now like eating shit a little bit because they're making fun of that?
They were all coming up with that together, so they knew from the gate. That's the thing. They knew from episode 1 that this was a stupid storyline that they were throwing at us, that we would be complaining about. Why are they doing this stupid thing? Why? We've said it all. Why haven't they showed the villain? How does this relate to the main story? Why does this matter? They haven't done anything with this in 9 episodes. They knew that from the gate, and that's why it was what it was. So I won't say it's brilliant. I will say it's very good. And I think, I don't think this series was brilliant, but I do think this series was very good. And I think the wrap up, and I'm trying to think of something else that did that for me, but I know there's certain comments when I read the final issue, it made the whole thing better. But, this is not the same thing, but it's kind of the same thing. Like how Clone Wars made the prequels of Star Wars so much better to me. Like the Clone Wars animated series in retrospect made me love the prequel so much more because it made me see, okay, this is what they were trying to do with the prequels, and then they did it right with Clone Wars. And so while this ain't what they were trying to do with the series, it was more like, okay, there was a plan. Y'all had a plan.
It's all about having a plan. When I could see y'all got a plan, it's like, okay, y'all thought about it.
And good writing involves a plan because it's like certain things just need to be answered, and you can't like I said at the beginning, you can't have a villain who just it couldn't have been the leader. You know, as much as I wanted the leader to show up so it connects to the next Marvel project or whatever, it would have made no sense for Samuel Stearns to show up and be like, "I was dating your blood because you're the Hulk's cousin." Like, I
It's
don't
like,
know
so
you.
who are
nigga.
you?
Yeah, I don't know you. Once again, back to that Lex Luthor. You know, he pulls off the Flash mask. I have no
Who
idea who this
are
man
you?
is.
Like, yes.
You know, like,
Who? Yeah.
like, yeah. So no, I thought the final episode wrapped it up all great and really made the series. You know, I say a good 8 out of 10 or so.
I made it good. I mean, it definitely for me, it definitely increased its standing because it was fairly low on the totem pole, and I was getting irritated many a times. But it's raised its standing on the
like it was like what 9 episodes, right?
It was 9 episodes. Yeah, I'm trying to figure like where it stood on the
5 out of 9 were really good. I'd say
5.
4 or 5. Daredevil, this one.
Daredevil was 8. This one was Daredevil was
9.
8, right? He was just showed up, right? Daredevil was 8. This one was 9. I said the one where it was just okay. The 7.
Yep. Mr. Immortal. Really like that episode.
Was that 7?
Think so.
7. Whatever that was, not the wedding episode, not the other episode that was right next to the wedding episode.
Yeah.
I felt like it was well, you know.
First episode was really good. Good pilot.
It was all right for me.
I liked it.
Okay. Well, anyway, in the listing of Disney Plus movies, it was not high on the list, but it's definitely increased the standing for sure.
I definitely want to watch this again. The final, really, like,
right.
I can't wait to watch that again.
Now this what we're talking about may fall into things we dislike because it's just like, well, the whole series rides on the finale. Like, yes, it all comes together at the end.
Yeah.
So it's like, but you gotta slide through some stuff to get there. You said it. I said that.
Yeah, but that time wasted is also inherent in what the show is and what they were. It's one of those things like I said with prequels, it's like what they were trying to do because what they were trying to do was do a legal comedy and do all the silly like a wedding episode out of nowhere, and that's just like.
But it wasn't funny or entertaining. Like I'm saying, for something that coalesced.
Your mileage may vary.
For something that coalesced in such a smart, amazing way, where it made, like you said, made the previous episodes make so much more sense. I still don't see what sense the wedding episode made.
Gotcha.
Like what? Okay, if you're writing on the false plot of the whole blood thing, sure, but it still doesn't make sense.
I mean, well, it was a way to introduce Josh and all that and get her to, so.
That's who you've never seen again. Who you've never.
Yeah, but you didn't need to because once again, the false plot didn't need much, And
if you didn't need him, who cares that you introduced him? That's what I'm saying. You were like, oh, because they introduced him. So what?
Because but see, look, all right, here's the writing there. Because that also builds up the fact that she meets this nice guy who likes her for her. So she feels extra betrayed when he isn't. And that led to that scene in the therapy, which was a really good scene where she's like, yo, She-Hulk was always the person that everybody liked in school. Just like, so that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. Like, taken as a whole, this show really was well done because it really did explore what it's like for somebody like her who's not the popular girl who suddenly becomes the popular, beautiful girl that everyone's attracted to. Even though Tatiana is definitely a beautiful woman, but we all know that, that doesn't matter if you don't have confidence. And so it shows someone who doesn't have confidence gets all of it. And that's what the show is really about. And so that was really well done. Mm-hmm. And it was a slow, character-driven story for a lot of it, which is good in a way because it's also this 30-minute comedy. So they did some things pretty well. You're a good PR agent. I mean, I just like to
But you made sense what you were saying.
I like to examine what, especially when it comes to writing, like what, like that's what I always say, wait till it's finished because that's the thing. Like, as you see in writer's room, there's a overarching plan. It's not like they were writing this episode. Some rooms are like that. Weekly episodes of shows are usually written week to week. But even now, people have changed that where they try and write most of the season beforehand.
Season 1 goes so each episode, each proceeding or just makes sense.
Yeah, it used to not be like that. That's what blew my mind when Damon Lindelof told us that Lost was written week to week.
So they didn't know. So week by week, they didn't know what was going on.
They probably had an overarching theme for the series, but at the same time, they were cranking out the actual script to that episode every week.
Hell no.
Yeah, and that's
so you're saying that How could you have, like, if you know you point A, you know you're gonna where point Z is.
By
and
point
you got to
Z.
get there.
Hopefully,
Week
but a
to
lot of
week?
times they didn't, and that's the thing. So it's like that's why Lost sometimes was like they'd spend a lot of times in the season just meandering around because
They didn't know what to do.
they didn't know what doing. They're writing the shit week to week. So
Wow.
like that was mind blowing to me. Like writing, that week, then they shoot it that week. That's what I'm talking about. Like it's crazy type of production. So it's not even a whole week you had to write it. You're writing half of the shit on set while they're shooting it. You're doing rewrites on set while they're shooting it that week. So it's a lot. So when I always say, like, wait till it's done because these writers had some type of plan going in. Now, whether or not they execute that plan is another story. But I feel like for the most part, they executed the plan that they had, which was to talk about She-Hulk, talk about Jen, talk about what it means to be both of them at the same time, what it means to be a superhero and a lawyer in the Marvel Universe. And then they had this other story that you think means something, but in the end, it's just window dressing to do more of the fourth wall and fifth wall breaking that She-Hulk is famous for. So I thought that was,
and become more acquainted,
well done.
well acquainted with Jennifer Walters.
Yep.
Yeah. Just one thing I put under my dislikes, and it's nothing major, but it's just like I was like, what's the point? Titania.
But that was just like with everybody else popping through walls.
Yeah, but she was the only one who was still there after the fact. After he plucked out everybody else, she still was there. So I was just like, okay, you just wanted Jamila there.
If you got Jamila on set for a day, you use her.
I guess, and her busting through the window, through the wall. So whatever it is,
I loved her filming though. Looks like it's about to be a murder, folks. I
was like, all right, whatever, because I don't, whatever.
I love her, so yeah.
Easter eggs, we said most of them. There was one I really liked, Jen asking Kevin, when are we getting X-Men? Because she was
and
us
then looking
again.
dead at us.
Yeah, it's like, and she's sitting there like a little kid, like, so when we're getting that, and he was like, I can't, the fucking robot with these little skinny ass spaghetti arms, I can't tell you that. Like, it was funny, it was cute. It fit in, like, it is once again just reconnecting to all the naysayer fanboys, right? It was so funny because she asked that for you. No. She asked those questions for you.
I love when she was at the meeting and they were doing all the things, I wouldn't really complain about her. It's not because she's a woman or anything. It's just because she's poorly written.
Yeah.
Like all those comments were so great.
All the comments of the She-Hulk hater club, like,
yep.
All them, it was typical shit you see on the Twitters and the people who don't fuck with women. Like, it was perfect. It was just a perfect reflection of art imitating life. And yeah, overall great series. I would say overall good series. Good series.
Good, not great, but good. Solid.
Yeah.
Enjoyable. And since it's 30 minutes, it's like if you're like, I think that's another thing because we had to sit there and wait and we're like anticipating you're waiting for Daredevil. But if you binge through this it'd be like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah. And it is, I will say that the shortness, because the shortness startled me at first because that's also because we were coming off a series that had longer episodes, but it made more sense and actually preferred that it was shorter, especially when you have such an incredible episode contained like this where you fit so much into a little space and you make because to me, this episode made it stand as far as who Jen is, what this fucking shit is, and whose show is this. Like, it did what needed to be done in this episode.
This episode made me want for a second season.
Okay, well, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
Or to see Jen continue. I mean, I've been wanting that, though.
But yeah, we're going to see Jen. And there was jokes about her being in the movie and, her having a movie. He was like, I'll see you in the film. And she was like, really? He was like, no, I'm playing. So that was cool. But one last time, I just want to go through the characters. Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk, played by Tatiana Maslany. Bruce Banner, played by Mark Ruffalo. Abomination, Emil Blonsky, played by Tim Roth. Holden Holloway, or her boss, played by Steve Coulter. Wong, played by Benedict Wong. Nikki Ramos, played by Ginger Gonzaga. Pug, or also known as Augustus Pugliese, played by Josh Segarra. Dennis Bukowski, the nasty incel, played by Drew Matthews. Titania, played by Jamil, and of course Daredevil Matt Murdock himself, played by Charlie Cox.
Yep.
So this is now the conclusion of our She-Hulk Attorney at Law review. We hope you enjoyed all 9 episodes of the show as well as our review. I hope you enjoyed everything we've been saying. We hope we made you laugh, made you smile. everything in between. Please continue to support us by making sure you remain subscribed to For All Nerds on your favorite podcast platform. That's how you listen to Views from the 616. There will be more content here. Like, we don't stop, as you can see. Just because this show's over doesn't mean the content stops. It keeps coming. Make sure you're following us. I'm Tatiana King on the Twitters and all over the internets. He's DJ Ben Amin on the internets. Follow Views from 616 on Twitter to get some Marvel-focused content there. And make sure you are supporting us in a variety of ways. Please, we appreciate all our financial fam. Because of you, we are able to do these fantastic shows and have fantastic editing and have an amazing crew and support system for All Nerds. Patreon.com/forallnerds. Every tier is a great tier. You get exclusive shit that no one else gets, or you get first dibs that no one else gets. Because speaking of, there's something there for you Patreon subscribers. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but there's something there specifically for you that no one else in the world has. So make sure you check that out. There's going to be more of that as we go along. Thanks to everyone, as we said, that came out. This is unrelated to Marvel, but they came out to the Black Adam screening. If you were on our Patreon, you would have had first dibs to that. You would have had the first few hours to get signed up to that, and then everyone else had to grab it. So you really great surprises like that you're only going to get if you join our Patreon, okay? And that special code is back online, y'all. Y'all know what special code I'm talking about, Patreon people. Make sure you're also going to our TeePublic, tpublic.com/stores/forallnerds. You can get this dope Views from the 616 logo t-shirt along with a variety of other amazing designs we have. You can get it on t-shirts, hoodies, masks, cups, fucking books, tote bags, everything you can fucking think of. You can get these designs on. Honestly, like, it's like fucking notebooks that you could just fucking write on, stickers, everything. We got it for you. That also supports us. And really just listening to the podcast, sharing it with your friends and fam, telling people about us. Yo, go on the Twitters, go on the IG, add us and be like, yo, y'all need to listen to Views from the 616. They're hilarious. Yo, listen to Castle Black. You like Game of Thrones, like whatever. Please, word of mouth is how we grow. We appreciate and love you. Ben, I mean, anything else?
Make sure you're following For All Nerds for all of the above that you just heard about. Castle Black, for me, for Tatiana, for Views from the 616. For all of that, make sure you're following the brand For All Nerds. But speaking of Views from the 616, let's see. We might do an all-star review of She-Hulk. We'll see if some folks are interested in that. We do have Black Panther, Wakanda Forever coming up. And we have the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special to close out this year. And we've been discussing a role-playing game podcast on Castle Black, but I was just thinking that the Marvel role-playing game that I used to play back in the day is actually, they're coming out with a new edition of it. I used to love the Marvel role-playing game. It's a very simple system that anyone could play. They'd only use one type of dice, and it allowed you to play all the great comic books and, create your own. So the new one's coming out. I think that might be something, that we might have to poke our heads into, get some of our Castle Black family, some other guests. I know Rodimus, other people might be interested in that, and, do some shit with that right there.
Let's do it. Be sure you listen back. If you missed an episode, listen back to our playlist for She-Hulk. You can go everywhere, as I mentioned. You can also go on our YouTube, For All Nerds TV. You have a full playlist right there for your viewing pleasure.